Yamunadiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Katra Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So I wanted to read this verse from the 8th canto and also read the introduction to this first chapter of the 8th canto, which is inspiring. The Prophet speaks about books, about his books. Because he had just finished the 7th canto and then beginning the 8th canto, the translation. And sometimes at the end of a canto he would write some dedication, some special words. And he wrote here in this introduction to the 8th canto. I'll read that first and then we'll read this verse from the first chapter of the 8th canto. So Prabhupada says, first of all, let me offer my humble, respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. Sometime in the year 1935, when His Divine Grace was staying at Radhakund, I went to see him from Bombay. At that time, he gave me many important instructions in regard to constructing temples and publishing books. He personally told me that publishing books is more important than constructing temples. We see devotees. Who's ever realized that and understood that, then have all success, and temples come naturally after. Of course, those same instructions remained within my mind for many years. In 1944, I began publishing my Back to Godhead, and when I retired from family life in 1958, I began publishing Srimad Bhagavatam in Delhi. When 3 parts of Srimad Bhagavatam had been published in India, I then started for the United States of America on the 13th of August, 1965. Prabhupada said he didn't want to go empty-handed. He didn't want to go, he said, there's so many of my other Indians there going to the West to beg money, technology, things. He said, I'm not coming to beg anything, I'm coming to give. So he waited till first he prepared by translating and writing the commentary of first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in which he said he actually included everything. The whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness is there in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Because he had no way of knowing if he would be able to finish the rest of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He didn't know what to expect when going to the West. And it's not that there was a whole organization of people waiting there for him, ready to help him in his mission. No, he was going there and arriving there alone, completely alone, with no backing from India and nothing waiting for him when he got there. So, therefore, he purposely put everything in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the great contribution of India, the wealth of India they should give to the rest of the world. Said, I am continuously trying to publish books as suggested by my spiritual master. Now in this year, 1976, when he had finished 7th, and now we're starting the 8th canto, I have completed the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and a summary of the 10th canto has already been published as Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada was feeling a strong sense of urgency that I'm thinking, actually this 1976, he was practically 80 years old. So I can tell you, I'm 74. When you get after 70, you think a lot about how much time I have left. The death is getting close. Prabhupada said that that's what old age means. Old age means close to death. And but he also said, how can you say that you're not close to death? You never know. You never know when. You can't say that when I'm 80 I'm close to death. When I'm 30 I'm not close to death. You may leave this body anytime. So the urgency is always there. But especially when you know I may have a short amount of time left. So Prabhupada was, that's why he wrote the Krishna book, because he said, I didn't know if I would be able to arrive to the 10th canto, so I wanted to give Krishna, I wanted to let people know all over the world that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I wanted to introduce Krishna to the world. So he did this Krishna book, the summary study. I don't know if you know that you might have thought, naturally, it would seem natural that they would, the first book to be distributed, book distribution started around, for the ISKCON movement, the devotees, around 1971, 72. And it started with the Krishna book. It didn't start with the Bhagavad Gita. It would seem that's what distribute Bhagavad Gita, but it started with the Krishna book. Because Prabhupada felt a great urgency to let the world know that God is a person and that He's Krishna. Otherwise, everyone is becoming atheist because there's no information about the personality of God. It's Shri Jagannath Subhadra Baladevi Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaura-Nitai. So he's saying, I gave already, back in 1969, 1970, the Krishna book actually came out in 1970, and but then he says, still the 8th canto, 9th canto, 10th canto, 11th canto, and 12th canto are yet to be published. And because he was feeling the time was going fast, he was feeling that urgent. That's why he wasn't sleeping practically 2-3 hours, 4 hours most in the 24 hours, and writing these books just for us. That's why it's what he dedicated all of his energy in his life. You can't imagine to travel in so many places, and just to travel. You can see, the traveling is very tiring. When you change time zone, you change place. It's wearing on the body, wearing on the consciousness. But to then arrive at a place and then get up at 1 o'clock in the morning and not sleep 2 hours and to translate these books, that's how much Prabhupada wanted to give us his books, give us this transcendental knowledge so that we can free ourselves from material life. We can actually become fully Krishna conscious. So he gave that to us, and he asked us to give it to the world, give these books to the world. On this occasion, therefore, I am praying to my spiritual master to give me strength to finish this work. I am neither a great scholar nor a great devotee. I am simply a humble servant of my spiritual master. And to the best of my ability, I am trying to please him by publishing these books with the cooperation of my disciples in America. Fortunately, scholars all over the world are appreciating these publications. Let us cooperatively publish more and more volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam just to please His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So, this was always Prabhupada's mood. He was never thinking what I'm doing. Look at what I'm doing. He was always thinking, I'm simply serving the order of my spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he actually would think, I have a letter where Prabhupada said, thank you for helping me in my service to my spiritual master. This was always his mood, never being worship, never taking that appreciation and worship for himself, but always feeling himself as the humble servant of the servant of his spiritual master. So with that, I'd like to read, this is verse 32, which goes on about, there are many places, I have many quotes. I can read more of them if we have time, if we want. But I have many quotes in Prabhupada's books about writing, publishing, and distributing his transcendental books. So they're quite inspiring, actually. And preaching Krishna consciousness. And that, like I said a few days ago, that's a unique specialty or contribution of Srila Prabhupada in this movement, ISKCON. The emphasis on preaching, the emphasis on distributing books. You won't find that anywhere else. You won't find that in any other Gaudiya Vaishnav movement. That's why it's expanding all over the world, because of Prabhupada's great desire to give Krishna to others, that empowered to preach and spread Krishna consciousness. Okay, so this is verse 32. Tat kata sumahat punyam Danyam swastyayanam shubham Yatra yatrottama shloko Bhagavan giyate hari Tatkata sumahat punyam Danyam swastyayanam shubham Yatra yatrottama shloko Bhagavan giyate hari Tatkatasu mahat punyam Dhanyam swastyayanam shubham Yatra yatrottama shloko Bhagavan giyate hari Tatkatasu mahat punyam Dhanyam swastyayanam shubham Yatra yatrottama shloko Bhagavan giyate hari Tatkatasu mahat punyam Dhanyam swastyayanam shubham Dhanyam swastyayanam shubham Yatra yatrottama shloko Bhagavan giyate hari Bhagavan giyate hari Tatkatasu mahat punyam Dhanyam swastyayanam shubham Yatra yatrottama shloko Bhagavan giyate hari Tatkatasu. In those narrations, Mahat, great, Punyam, pious, Dhanyam, glorious, Swastyayanam, Yayanam, auspicious, Shubham, all good, Yatra, whenever, Yatra, wherever, Uttama Shloka, the Lord who is known as Uttama Shloka. he who is described by transcendental literature. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Giyate, is glorified. Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Any literature or narration in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Uttama Shloka, is described and glorified is certainly great, pure, glorious, auspicious, and all good. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Purport. The Krishna consciousness movement is spreading all over the world simply by describing Krishna. And where is he describing Krishna? In transcendental books. Krishna is being described in Prabhupada's books. And he says that Krishna consciousness is spreading all over the world because of this. That's how it's spreading. That's how it will be spread. He even said that even if this movement falls apart or whatever, it's not. He said someone will find a book and he'll start it up again. Because everything is there. Everything is there. How to become fully Krishna conscious, how to spread Krishna consciousness. Everything is there in Prabhupada's books. So the more that they're out there, as I mentioned before, that this country in particular has the biggest saturation of books, I think, Prabhupada's books in almost in the world. There's Slovenia and Switzerland. They both have a per capita number of books to number of people that's like the highest, one of the highest. So it's a great opportunity to water those seeds and help them to grow. And like I said, devotees wonder though, they say, but I don't see any. Where are all the people? Where they're not coming? It may not happen. It may not happen immediately. Prabhupada, we read last night, for the next 10,000 years, this Krishna conscious movement will be influencing the world for the next 10,000 years. We're now at between 500 and 600 years since Lord Chaitanya's appearance. So right in the beginning, it's not it's actually miraculous how much, rather than think how little, we should think to just say, well, how much in such a short time. Generally, a movement that's supposed to spread for 10,000 years, 500 years is just the very beginning. So it's actually spread quite a bit, quite miraculously in such a short time. Because when you speak about history, 500 years is a short time. When the people describe history, they jump 100 years, 200 years, 500, you jump very quickly. And so it's actually just the beginning. And Krishna consciousness, and because of the distribution of thousands and millions of Srila Prabhupada's books, we can do more and more, and Krishna consciousness will spread more and more. And the more we put emphasis on that, the more devotees are putting emphasis on Srila Prabhupada's teachings in his books, and the distribution of that Krishna consciousness will naturally. He said that many times. He said, "In all your necessities will be provided." If you just concentrate on this one activity of just printing, publishing, and distributing these books, then Krishna will provide everything, and you don't have to worry about money, or you don't have to worry about anything else. Krishna will send everything necessary. So, if you look back, it's 50 years, and it's almost 60 years, but Prabhupada started, and actually there's hundreds of temples all over the world. There's thousands of devotees, someplace even a million, maybe in India. And that's a miracle in 50, 60 years. Christianity, the first 50 years, there wasn't even a movement. There was just a few people traveling around. There was just a few people following. And it took hundreds of years to actually grow into. And they had only one book, and it wasn't even printed. And they only had one book that came 60 years later, 70, 80, 90 years later, that was written. Yeah, otherwise, there wasn't anything. And still, after 2,000 years, it's spread all over the world. So we can imagine if we keep focused on Prabhupada's books and their distribution, miracles will happen. Krishna consciousness will expand in miraculous ways all over the world. We may not see it fully in our lifetime, but we may come back in our next lifetime and see it expanding. I know some devotees, they want to do that. They want to come back and help continue spreading Krishna consciousness. So we have published many books, including Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in 17 volumes. This is 1976, remember? So in 1975, 74, 75, Prabhupada decided to, because there was request, what about Lord Chaitanya, what about Chaitanya Charitamrita? Because he was totally concentrated, absorbed in publishing, writing and publishing Srimad Bhagavatam, but he decided, due to great request, to stop and just to concentrate it was only for a short time, a few months. He concentrated on translating and writing Chaitanya Charitamrita purport, and devotees, I don't know if you all know that, but the devotees, there's a whole crew of devotees that went to Los Angeles where the BBT publishing was going on, and they had a marathon, practically 24 hours a day. The devotees had turns. Just if you've seen the paintings in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, they're actually painted by teams of devotees. One devotee would paint the background, then he would pass it on, another devotee would paint the figures, another devotee would fill in the rest, and they would, like that. So they were able to publish. At that time it was 17 volumes because they were small. Now it's 8 volumes, 8 or sometimes 9 volumes. But that was produced in 2 months, which is totally unheard of in the publishing world or in the printing world, that you can write and publish and print 17 books in 2 months. It's like a miracle. So Prabhupada is mentioning this. We've printed and published Chaitanya Charitamrita because it was a great accomplishment. So many I know some of the devotees who were there in the marathon, and they would work on it, lie down next to their desk, sleep for some time, and get up and start working. And they would go to Mangalarti, chant the rounds, and then just start working on the production of Chaitanya Charitamrita. If they felt a little tired, they would just lie down on the floor there next to the desk. And so we have Chaitanya Charitamrita now. Prabhupada wanted to give us that, and at the same time continue the rest of the Srimad Bhagavatam. As well as Bhagavad Gita and the Nectar of Devotion. We are also publishing Srimad Bhagavatam in 60 volumes. Wherever a speaker, this is also very nice, listen to this next point. Wherever a speaker holds discourses from these books and an audience hears them, this will create a good and auspicious situation. Therefore, the preaching of Krishna consciousness must be done very carefully by the members of the Krishna consciousness movement, especially the sannyasis. This will create an auspicious atmosphere. But everyone can preach. I always, one of the most important explanations or parts of it, it's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, is the story of Kurma Brahmana. How many of you know the story of Kurma Brahmana in Chaitanya Charitamrita? Kurma Brahmana, he was a devotee in South India, and we can't imagine what a pious place, how the people were so devotional, and so there were family people, but they were very advanced, spiritually advanced, very pious. There was no sinful activities in the town, I'm sure, and But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was traveling, as you know, he traveled all throughout South India. And he stopped in this village. And this devotee, he was a Brahmin, he was he was married, he had family, but he was very attracted to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And at a certain point he went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, please, I want to leave. I'm here in this, it's funny because I'm in this dark well of household life. I mean, compared to the dark well of household life now here in the West, it's hardly a dark well in those days. But he was thinking like that. I'm in this deep, dark well of household life and material desires and everything. Please let me come with you, please. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he stopped him immediately. He said, don't say like that anymore. Don't speak like that anymore. You just stay here, stay where you are, chant Hare Krishna, perfect your chanting of Hare Krishna. Become free of offenses in your chanting of Hare Krishna. Chant purely the holy names. And tell other people about Krishna in your village, in your town, just around where you are. Just tell other people about Krishna. And that was, Prabhupada, there's some very important purports there where Prabhupada explained this is a mission. He said it's not our mission to tell people to leave everything, to leave their home and come with us. No, they can stay in their home wherever they're comfortable and chant Hare Krishna in their home, read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam with their family, worship the deities, but especially at the end says, and tell other people about Krishna. Tell the people you know, the people you meet, the people around your town, the people you work with, everyone. Tell them about Krishna. And particularly, by giving them Prabhupada's books, then they will be able to hear about Krishna. And that will create an auspicious atmosphere, as Prabhupada is saying here. So I have quite a few other references from Prabhupada's books that I'd like to read. Up to this point, if anyone has any question or comments or reflections, add something. No? Everybody very quiet. Let's see if okay. I have a few quotes because from the Krishna book also, which are very nice. I always like this very much. That this is from the chapter of prayers to the personified Vedas. How many of you have you all read Krishna book at least once? I have a letter from Srila Prabhupada where he told me, I know you're very busy in all the activities for spreading our Krishna consciousness movement, but you must read these books. You have to take time to read these books. And he said, especially the Krishna book. So he didn't say especially Bhagavad Gita. He said to some other disciple, he said, read Bhagavad Gita. But to me, he said, especially read Krishna. I don't know. And I discovered that actually the whole Bhagavad Gita is all there in the Krishna book. There's so many references to so many verses in Bhagavad Gita. You can have all teaching. It's actually a miraculous work, a miraculous book, because otherwise people would say, but why? He gave it the 10th canto, which is, you're supposed to read the first 9 cantos before you read the 10th canto, but he gave the 10th canto very, very practically in the beginning of the movement, and we distributed it widely because he put everything there. He put the Bhagavad Gita, he put the first, it's all there, all the knowledge is there. If you read the rasa dance, the rasa dance, this probably gives just a very brief description of the pastime, and then gives a whole discussion of difference between love and lust, and to help us understand that this is not a mundane dance between boys and girls. It explains it in great detail in that chapter. It's mostly philosophy. It's about 1.5, 2 pages of the story, and then the rest is all philosophy explaining the transcendental nature of these activities. So if any of you gotten really into the prayers of the personified Vedas. I think for many devotees, for years I had the same experience because I would try to read a chapter of Krishna book every day. But then when I get to the prayers of personified Vedas, everything kind of slows down because it's very philosophical. It's like 60, 70 pages of straight philosophy, pretty much against Mayavadi and impersonalist philosophy. That's pretty much what it's all about. Showing that the absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of God, proving from so many angles. And so it gets pretty thick and pretty heavy. But I can tell you after years, if you keep reading it, you'll actually begin to relish it, the prayers of the personified Vedas. You know you're making advancement when you begin to relish and look for it. And otherwise you get to, oh, here we go again, the prayers of the personified Vedas. I have to plod through it. No, it actually becomes relishable after some time, if you read it many times. So this is one phrase that I found in that chapter, which I found very nice. As one who is interested in gold accepts all the differently shaped gold ornaments, so a Vaishnav, knowing well that all living entities are of the same quality as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, accepts all living entities as eternal servants of God. A Vaishnav then has ample opportunity to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, simply by reclaiming these conditioned, misled living entities, training them in Krishna consciousness, and leading them back home, back to Godhead. The fact is that the minds of the living entities are now agitated by the three material qualities, and the living entities are therefore transmigrating as if in dreams from one body to another. When their consciousness is changed into Krishna consciousness, however, they immediately fix Krishna within their hearts, and thus their path towards liberation becomes clear. So, if you're wondering what I don't have enough service to do, I don't know what to do. Here it is. Here's the answer. The devotee says there's so many conditioned souls. There's thousands, millions, and billions of conditioned souls, and they're all part and parcel of Krishna. So I have enough service to do for many, many lifetimes to try to save and reclaim. It says to reclaim these conditioned souls and bring them back home, lead them back home, back to God. Because we can go on for many lifetimes like that. What do you think? You want to go on for many lifetimes reclaiming the conditioned souls? Devotee, he just wants to serve. His only desire is to serve. Whatever Krishna wants, I'm ready to serve. But sometimes we hope he doesn't ask me to come back down to this material world. I know two spiritual masters there. They discussed this thing, and they had a big discussion about do we want to come back? Are we praying and desiring to come back and continue spreading serving Srila Prabhupada by spreading his movement, or do I want to go back home, back to Godhead and Goloka Vrindavan? And then we'll think about we'll talk about whether I should come back again. So that's a whole. Different devotees have different opinions and different desires. Prabhupada is expressing his willingness to continue. It's like Arjuna is an eternal associate of Krishna, and he travels with Krishna in different universes, performing. But actually, as we've said many times, Prabhupada said that you think I'm here in Los Angeles, wherever it was, but I'm with Krishna. So even if you are here, if you become fully Krishna conscious, you're with Krishna. You are in Goloka Vrindavan, but you also can be here helping spread and save and bring back conditioned souls back to home, back to God. And we know if you actually get completely absorbed in helping and training and teaching and bringing people towards Krishna, you feel like you're in the spiritual world. You feel the greatest happiness, the greatest transcendental pleasure, because Krishna is pleased. Because Krishna says that one who teaches this conversation of mine, he's the most dear. What's the whole point of bhakti yoga? Krishna God's become dear to Krishna, to serve in such a way that Krishna is pleased. So if that's how Krishna is most pleased, which he says very clearly in Bhagavad Gita, then devotee is happy and feels the reciprocation of love and appreciation from Krishna, and he feels transcendental ecstasy by doing that service. So this is from the introduction. Any question about that? Comment? Yes.
So, like you mentioned that, like these books, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur told Srila Prabhupada that he focus on publishing and distributing books. So, like you also mentioned that, like so many books are being distributed, so maybe they will fructify in the future. The results will be shown. I just wanted to understand, like, of course we understand that this is all transcendental. Like from your realization, you can say something like how this manifests, like in some logical way or something like explanation. Have you seen, like, since last 50 years I have seen?
Oh, that's very clear. Few different things from few different angles of vision. One is the fact that there's, I mean, when we started distributing books, there was a few hundred devotees of Krishna outside of India, and now there's thousands. When we started distributing books in 1971, 72, actually, could be many. And another interesting, and there are many more temples and many more devotees. So where do they come from? How is it there? Because somehow those books touched them. Someone read the book, someone... And if you ask most people here in the West, how did you come to Krishna Con? Most of them will tell you that I somehow or other I got a book. There even story I know at our temple. One boy, he came for a program there. We had actually rented some room to someone who was doing some other teaching something. And he came and he saw the Chaitanya Charitamrita on the shelf. He said, "Oh, I know that book." I said, my father has it on his bookshelf. His father had bought a set of Chaitanya Charitamrita, not even knowing what it was. The devotees, they were just, he was very friendly and nice, and then he bought it. He put it on the shelf. But his son, he's very intelligent, very curious. He pulled down, imagine, he pulled down the volume, Madhya Lila, chapter 8, Conversation with Ramananda Roy. It wasn't Bhagavad Gita, it wasn't Krishna. First book he found, and he found it there in his own home. When he grew up, he said his father bought it when he was little, and it had been there for years. He said, I've been seeing those books for years, and finally one day, maybe he was 18 years old or something, he pulled it out. And then he came for this other program, and he started asking questions about the conversation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy. So it was quite amazing, actually. And there are many stories like that people have even found Bhakti Gaudiya magazine in the trash can. We even once, I remember when we were doing Sankirtan in America many years ago, and we drove by it, and there was a bum, a mendicant kind of person, with his head down inside it was a big garbage barrel. Because we were distributing in that area many Bhakti Gaudiya magazines, large books, and everything. He came up out of the garbage with the Bhakti Gaudiya magazine in his hand. And so then he took it. He was very happy. He took it and went on his way. So we don't know how this... Our business is to have... Prabhupada even said, I'm following blindly the order of my spiritual master. I don't know what will happen, but I'm following blindly the order of my spiritual master. Shri Jagannath Subhana Baladevi Ki Jai, Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. I have faith in the order of my spiritual master that I just do it, just get the books out, just distribute them, and they'll They're Krishna. They're Krishna himself in the book form, and they'll go where they're supposed to go, and they'll touch the people they're supposed to touch, and things will expand like that. That's where I've seen it. In the conceptions of karma, reincarnation, vegetarianism, these were, I mean, I can tell you, 50 years ago, if you told someone you're here in the West, I became a vegetarian, it was like really strange. People, vegetarian, what? It was totally foreign. It was totally strange. Now it's in. It's the thing. It's popular. Where did that come from? Reincarnate. You tell people karma. You heard of karma, right? Yeah, sure. Yeah. What goes around comes around. Yeah, I know about 50 years ago in the West. Totally foreign idea. No one. A few people had heard something about it, but it was very foreign. But now it's mainstream knowledge. Maybe some people don't believe in it. Christians, fanatic Christians or Muslims, they don't believe in it. But many people are. So there's different ways. Yeah.
I remember when we were going the coast, and I was giving Bhagavad Gita, and 4 ladies became a devotee.
Yeah.
Just in 1 year. I went the next year, and they were all reading Bhagavad Gita and taking notes. So I started to cultivate them, and they became devoted to ladies.
Yeah, because we used to go.
Initiation now.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to go traveling in the summertime on the beach area. Many thousands of people there. And every time we'd always meet somebody, she would give the book, and then they actually became devotees. Just by getting Bhagavad Gita. Because we didn't have a temple there or anything. They just left the Bhagavad Gita, and then next year they had become devotees. They were chanting and everything. So yes, it works. It's working already. It's worked already, and it will continue. The more it goes on, the more they're distributed. It will continue to expand and work. I remember because sometimes when the devotees distribute the books, and then maybe they won't read them, or maybe that person he throws it away, or he leaves it somewhere. Sometimes in Italy we go back the next year. Oh yeah, I still have the book you gave me, and it still has the cellophane on it, the plastic wrap on it. But they're out there. Books last a whole lifetime. Books last for 100 years. Books can last for many, many, many years. And you don't know Krishna's plan, or that book's going to touch somebody, the right person. One boy in Dallas, when we were in Dallas many years ago, this boy came to the temple. Yeah, I'm ready to join. I want to be a devotee. Well, what happened? He moved into he rented an apartment. He moved into a new apartment. He was cleaning it up, and inside the Almira, up on a shelf, he found somebody left the Bhagavad Gita, and he pulled the Bhagavad Gita down, he read it, and he became a devotee. So.
Also that devotee in the Hare Krishna English, Bhakta Jaya, what's his name? Jai Giriraj?
Giriraj, yeah.
Yes, he was explained the other day, he found the books in the trash. He was in a Buddhist temple, and
this was a boy, he was a monk in a Buddhist temple. He was Italian, he was Western. He was Italian, but he had become a Buddhist monk. And and somehow he was out, he had to do some errands, some shopping, I don't know. And he saw a book in the trash, in the garbage.
then he became very attracted to open the trash, and he found...
He didn't, it was even more strange. He didn't know why, but he felt something was telling him, open the trash bin. And he opened the trash bin, there was a book, Prabhupada's book, and he took the book, he brought it back to the monastery, and started reading it, and he started showing it to the other monks, I think, and what happened? They kicked him out, because it really upset the minds of some of the monks who started reading Prabhupada's books, because they found out that there's a God, that God is a person, and you can have spiritual ecstasy and happiness, and there was it really disturbed the minds of some, and they told him to leave because he was disturbing the other monks by having them read Prabhupada's books. And then now he's initiated, he's a brahmachari, he's very book distributor. And so we don't know. We should have the faith like Prabhupada had faith in the order of his spiritual master. We should have that same faith in the order of Srila Prabhupada. Go on distributing, and now people are coming because they're reading them, and now we have to teach them and get people to read them and more. And then from that, the description, that's what we just read, by the descriptions, simply by describing Krishna, all of this movement is spreading all over the world. And how is it describing Krishna? Through these transcendental books. Anyone? Comment? Question? Should we go and read another one?
Many times happened to me, they come to the temple and they say, oh, you gave me the book. The first book you gave me. I don't remember because we met many people, but some person, then they became a devotee. They told me I was the one giving the first book to them. Even if I didn't remember that.
Even if it was a fast thing, maybe you would very quickly give the book, they give a donation. You never saw it. But then they read it, and one day they'll come to the temple. That's why we have the addresses in the beginning of the books. That's why I told the people yesterday, the addresses in the book, you could give them an invitation that it's good if they're ready to come, but they may lose the invitation. But they have the nice special thing about books is even people throw books away, then somebody who picks them up anyway. But generally people, they put them on the shelf. That's why that friend of Srila Prabhupada's told him in Vrindavan, he said, magazines come and go, they last for a while and people throw them away. Well, you should publish, you should write books. And then Prabhupada took that as instruction from Krishna to write books, because books stay. Books. I mean, many devoted people I know also in Italy, they bought, and also in America, they bought books and Prabhupada's books in used bookstores. There's many people who sell used books that have already been used. There's stores in America, there's big stores that just sell used books. And you always find Prabhupada's books there. And somebody finished them and they gave them to the charity, they gave them to the user. And then somebody else will buy it. So the important thing is to get them out there. And it's Krishna. He'll go wherever he wants. He'll move wherever he wants to touch the person who's ready, the right person, and touch many people. And we know if someone, because there was a time in Italy they had published the Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita with this kind of fancy cover. It's like a very fancy cover, embossed with gold letters and everything. And it was quite attractive. In Italy, they not so much culture of reading. They don't like to read so much. Some classes do, but a lot of people not so much. But they like to look like they are intelligent. So they like to have some nice set of books on their bookshelves so people think they're intelligent. So there was very successful. These books sold very well, but and many people had them on their, and sometimes they give them away when they wanted to get some new books, and then people would take them and into that because they would stay for years, many years. They could stay for generations, books, and their children can, as we mentioned, that boy became devotee by his father had purchased Prabhupada's books and it had been there for years and years. So it's magical. Krishna is adjusting and arranging the whole thing perfectly so that the right people are getting Prabhupada's books some way or another, even from the garbage can. They'll get Prabhupada's book. Anyone else would like to?
Also, like Prabhupada mentions regarding the boiling the milk.
Yes.
So when I was reading that, there also Prabhupada mentioned that how to boil the milk. He says, let devotee read my books.
Yes.
And from different angle of
Deeply.
going deeply and trying to understand.
Yeah, you won't be able to continue distributing Srila Prabhupada's books unless you read them deeply, because the real motivation for desiring to distribute Prabhupada's books is that you relishing them yourself. You're reading them yourself. If you're not reading them yourself, then because in the beginning days, the beginning years, devotees were very young. They're very passionate. They were, all young people, and they got caught up in the enthusiasm of distributing. It's easy. I mean, we were Americans. You like making money, business, points, being the number one. That was a strong motivation. But Vaisheshika Prabhu always tells how when he was able to see Srila Prabhupada, he invited the Sankirtan devotees into his room. And he said, yes, very nice, you're distributing books, but are you reading my books? You must read. And he says, he always remembers that. That's the one Prabhupada said to him. He said, but you're not just distribute them, you must read, you have to read these books. And that now he's the example. I mean, he's always reading Srila Prabhupada's books constantly, and walking down the hall, sitting in the car, he's always constantly reading. And he's pushing the book distribution all over the world, but every year in Kartik he stops for 1 month, goes to Govardhan, and read 5 or 6 hours a day. They read Srimad Bhagavatam. No comments, just reading straight. There's a whole group of devotees, and he just reads Srimad Bhagavatam. 5 hours is long. It doesn't sound, you say, well, it's 5 hours, and we go on Sankirtan for 8 hours. It's a long time to just reading. But he does that. He's been doing it for 25 or 26 years now, every year like that. And that's where he gets his strength to be always enthusiastic for distributing. So you definitely... Yeah, I remember when that letter came. That letter came, was it 72 or 74? I remember. Might have been even 72, but I think maybe 74. Boiling the milk. But Prabhupada was seeing the devotees were building, distributing, and making money, and they were just pushing, because we were, like I said, we're young and passionate. He said, but what is the quality of their devotional service? And many people, they were coming and going. So he said, we have to boil the milk, means not a cheap thing, but become seriously absorbed in hearing and chanting about Krishna. Reading these books deeply. He even said, read them threadbare. What does threadbare mean? It means that the book is so worn out that you've reading it so many times it's worn out that threads are coming out. So, and I can say, devotees who didn't get absorbed in reading, they're not around anymore. If you read the books, your devotional service, you'll continue a whole life in devotional service. If you don't, Maya will take you away for sure. And you won't be empowered to distribute them. You may, by material ability, for some time, be able to distribute books. But if you're not really relishing reading them and studying them, you won't be inspired after some time to go on distributing them. Yeah, they go hand in hand, reading them and then distributing them. Reading them has to go together. Okay. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada's marathon ki jai. It's actually, some countries they started 1 week ago. In Italy we started yesterday. So, I don't know, Nina, did you start 1 week ago or you started yesterday? Did they start the Prabhupada Marathon in India on the 1st of December or?
Already started.
Already started, okay.
15th November in Delhi.
15th November, oh, okay.
15th November to 15th January.
15 November, yeah. 2 months. Yeah, there's what is Christmas there? Here it's a big thing, but there was Christmas there. Nothing to do with Christmas. It just, yeah, it started, the history is it started when devotees they were distributing books, and they discovered that Christmas was a special time, that the people were very much more in the West, generous and kind of in a happy mood. It was easier to distribute books. So they just started on those 3 days before Christmas distributing, giving a special push. And then gradually it's come to be 1 month, then became 1 week, and then 2 weeks, then now 1 month, and now 2 months.
And now they do 3 times marathon.
In a year.
In Chaitanya it's 3 times marathon. Just
Oh yeah, that's the Vaisheshika's.
marathon.
Yeah, Vaisheshika's program. The campaigns. Live to Give, now is Live to Give campaign. It's actually a very nice name, but Live to Give. I wish to live to give Krishna to others. That was Bhagavad Gita. Chaitanya Charitamrita is a little difficult because many countries in Europe, at least half the countries in Europe, they don't even have Chaitanya Charitamrita published in their language. But Bhagavad Gita is no excuse. Every country in Europe has their Bhagavad Gita, they have it in their language, and there's always in English. Many people here, I saw yesterday, maybe have, I thought a little more. Some of the devotees said, yeah, most people speak English. At least half the people didn't speak a word of English. Older people, nobody spoke English. But I said, great, here's the German, we have a German Bhagavad Gita. So whatever, one way or another, if their whatever language it may be, that they can get Bhagavad Gita for starting. And Krishna book. We just printed in Italy, we just reprinted the Krishna book, 30,000, 2 volumes. I even wrapped it in both volumes together, they wrapped it up. So we should have a marathon. And Prabhupada says in Chaitanya Charitamrita that the Krishna book is the essence of all Srimad Bhagavatam. So you can, we actually did that in Holland. They didn't have Srimad Bhagavatam in print, so we made a special arrangement for the Bhadra campaign, that if they distributed 3 sets of Krishna books, they would count it as, or 3 or 4, I don't remember, counted as a Srimad Bhagavatam. So they also participated. So we can make special arrangements like that if you, because each country has a little different situation. Some have Bhagavatam, some don't. Some have Chaitanya Charitamrita, some don't. But everyone has Bhagavad Gita now, so we can all fully concentrate on Bhagavad Gita and live. Our life is for giving to others in the form of transcendental literature. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Krishna ki jai. songs about a specific reading pattern. Some questions
Yesterday, was before the application. wollte sowieso helfen, aber ich wollte eigentlich, also ich habe sowieso vorgehabt zu helfen. Ich muss mir das kurz merken. Einölen.
Ja.
Aber weißt du, was ich denn weiß, wo ich noch dran habe, die Wunder. Warte, ich wollte sowieso helfen, aber ich dachte, ich weiß helfen. Wo warst du denn eigentlich? Moment.
Jagannath Swami